The shift when a woman hits her late 30s or early 40s is not a gentle transition. It is a seismic event. It is a total structural collapse. For years, you relied on her as the architect of your shared reality, the person who managed the emotional and logistical load of the family. She was the center of gravity. Then, almost overnight, you come home and find that the architect has resigned. The shared contract is void. The woman you knew has been replaced by a stranger, one who seems distant, glued to her phone, suddenly obsessed with a new, frantic routine that doesn't include you. You are left asking the same terrifying question thousands of other men are asking. What happened to my wife? This isn't just a personal crisis. It is a silent epidemic, a predictable pattern of destruction, and we are here to map out exactly how it works, starting with the psychological earthquake that happens deep inside her mind. That psychological earthquake begins with a terrifying realization. Her identity, the very foundation of who she is, was built almost entirely on external validation. For decades, her sense of self was forged in the perception of others. She was the desirable woman, the capable mother, the center of attention. This validation wasn't just nice to have, it was the primary source material for her self-worth. It was the currency she used to measure her value in the world. But this currency has a brutal expiration date. As she enters her 40s, society's gaze begins to shift. She is no longer the new, exciting focus. The attention that she relied on, the attention she mistook for identity, starts to evaporate. This isn't just a blow to her ego, it's a fundamental crisis. If you've ever felt like her actions are a desperate scramble for attention, that's exactly what this is. She is realizing that the mirrors she used to define herself are being taken away, one by one. This feeling of invisibility is a primal terror. It is an existential panic. She isn't just losing her looks, she feels like she is being erased. And this panic forces a desperate, irrational reaction. She must find a new source of validation, a new mirror to prove that she is still there. Here's what that really means. Your stable, reliable love, the very foundation of your life together, now feels like a cage. Your validation doesn't count because it's familiar. It's like the air in the room, essential for life, but completely unnoticed. She doesn't want air. She needs a lightning bolt. She needs intensity. She needs novelty. She needs proof, any proof, that she can still command attention. This psychological desperation is the tinder, making her terrifyingly vulnerable to the internal accelerant that's already taking over her system, which leads to the second force at play, the biochemical betrayal. If the psychological panic is the tinder, her own biology is the accelerant. This is the part of the collapse that is not her choice. It is a biochemical betrayal. As she enters this window, the core hormones that defined her adult life and her personality, estrogen and progesterone, begin to fall. These are the chemicals responsible for bonding, for nesting, and for finding comfort in stability. This decline isn't just physical, it's a complete neurological hijacking. Her brain chemistry is being rewritten. If you've ever felt like she is suddenly and actively repelled by the very stability she helped build, you are not imagining it. The operating system that made her value comfort is being uninstalled. It is being replaced by a new program that demands the exact opposite. Her brain is no longer wired for peace. It is now wired to seek intensity, novelty, and chaos. This is the moment you, the stable husband, are recategorized. You are the living symbol of predictability and comfort. In her previous biological state, this was your greatest asset. In her new one, you are the enemy of intensity. Your validation, your love, and your support no longer register as passion, they register as background noise. In practice, this means she is now driven by a chemical mandate, a desperate hunger to feel a rush. a feeling that her stable life and you cannot provide. This creates a void, a deep compulsion for a new high, a feeling that functions exactly like a chemical dependency. This internal fire is destructive enough on its own. But it's the third force, the surrounding culture, that provides the permission to let it burn everything down. She is in a state of psychological panic and biological withdrawal, desperately searching for an intense new high. And right at that exact moment, modern culture steps in and pours gasoline on the fire. The media, the influencers, and the entire social narrative look at her internal chaos and validate it. They provide the permission slips for her destruction. The endless stream on her phone supplies a curated fantasy, a fantasy of a second life, of effortless reinvention, of escaping the boredom of loyalty. It's a digital echo chamber that tells her, you are not in crisis, you are awakening. This cultural messaging is a powerful psychoactive substance. It doesn't just suggest an alternative, it actively frames her stable life as a prison she must escape, and her internal chaos as a sign of strength. This narrative isn't subtle. It's a relentless campaign for self-worship, delivered through slogans that hit like dopamine. You deserve to be happy. Your story isn't over. Follow your bliss. This is the cultural framework that allows her to reinterpret her biochemical panic as a brave choice. It gives her a noble identity, the heroine on a journey of self-discovery to mask the reality of her impulsive escape. She isn't just a woman running from a stable life, she is a pioneer running toward her true self. And the culture gives her the script, the justification, and the applause for burning the house down. And this cultural permission is made even more toxic when it's echoed by those closest to her. Which brings us to the social accelerant. This internal, biological, and cultural pressure is then amplified by her immediate social circle, specifically the friends who have already left their own marriages. These are the missionaries of freedom. They are not neutral observers. They are active recruiters, and they operate with the zeal of converts. Here's what that really means. They have a deep, personal stake in her decision. They need her to make the same choice to validate their own. Her loyalty to her marriage is a silent judgment on their liberation, a constant unnerving suggestion that their own choice was not a necessity, but just a failure. But if she also leaves, if she also joins their ranks, it proves their narrative was correct. It confirms the oppression they all escaped. They are not just offering support, they are evangelizing to justify their own past. This group provides a powerful, tangible feedback loop. They offer her a pre-packaged vision of the afterlife, the exciting new social life, the healing journeys, the thrill of new dating apps. It is an instant community, a new tribe, and the price of admission is her old life. This isn't just friendship, it's a social contagion. They provide the language to reframe her guilt as bravery and your stability as a cage. If you've ever felt her pulling away and adopting new phrases and attitudes that seem to come from outside, this is the source. This social validation is the final catalyst. And once this psycho-bio-social alignment is complete, the internal decision is made. This is when you begin to see the external evidence, the campaign of war. This campaign begins with her physical appearance. You will notice a sudden, frantic, almost religious devotion to transforming her body. It's the gym, twice a day. It's the obsessive diets, the new wardrobe filled with clothes that seem too young, the sudden interest in cosmetic procedures. But you must be clinically clear about what you are seeing. This is not self-care. It is not a journey toward health. It is a desperate, panicked pursuit against the clock. It is a frantic attempt to rebuild her value as a desirable object for the external world. She is not trying to feel good. She is trying to be seen again. In practice, this looks like an arms race against her own aging, an attempt to build a new physical identity that sheds the wife and mother she has come to resent. It is the first visible sign that she is preparing for a new marketplace and you are not invited. The second front in this war is emotional. The connection you once shared is now the primary obstacle to her escape, and it will be neutralized in one of two ways. The first is open conflict. She will begin to manufacture arguments, escalating minor issues into major betrayals. She will rewrite your history, painting you as the oppressor, the one who held her back. This is not about resolving conflict. It is about creating a villain. She needs you to be the bad guy to justify the destruction she's about to unleash. The alternative, which is often more chilling, is a forced sweetness. It's a cold, distant politeness. This isn't affection, it's guilt management. She is treating you like a stranger she feels sorry for, while her true emotional life is being conducted in secret. But this plan, this fantasy, remains theoretical until it finds a specific target. That target is the catalyst. For months, this internal crisis has been a vague, abstract fantasy of something more. But a fantasy cannot sustain itself. It needs a physical form. This is the moment a man appears. He is often someone from her past, a co-worker, or even just an online connection. As an individual, he is almost irrelevant. His only importance is his function. He is the vessel for her escape plan. He is not the cause of the crisis. He is the ignition point. He is the first man in years to provide that jolt of external validation, that intense high her biology is screaming for. He becomes the living proof that her cultural narrative is correct, that she is still desirable, that a new life is waiting. He gives her a specific destination for her rage and her hope. But to fully embrace this new fantasy, she must first justify her exit by destroying her past, which leads to the most critical mechanism of her defense: rewriting history. This is the psychological maneuver that protects her from her own guilt. She cannot, in this new identity, be the villain. She must be the heroine. And for her to be the heroine, you must be the villain. And the marriage must have always been a prison. In practice, this means your entire shared history is put on trial and found guilty. She will exhume old resolved arguments from 10 years ago. She will reinterpret your years of stability as neglect, your quiet support as indifference, and your sacrifices as control. This is not a search for truth, it is a search for justification. If you've ever felt confused by her sudden accusations, wondering, where is this coming from? You are witnessing the creation of a new false narrative. This is cognitive dissonance in action. She's building a case for the prosecution against you in her own mind, so that her inevitable betrayal can be reframed as a righteous escape. A fiction she desperately needs to believe, especially as she ignores the real victims of this choice. And then there are the children. As she builds her case for escape, she must also neutralize the catastrophic damage she is inflicting on them. To do this, she will adopt the most selfish fiction of all. The kids will be fine. They are resilient. Let's be clinically clear. This is a lie. This is the narrative she must sell herself to justify prioritizing her own impulsive needs over their fundamental stability. Children are not resilient to the structural collapse of their reality. They are not processing this change. They are enduring it. They are absorbing the chaos, the tension, and the loss of the family unit. They are being forced to carry the emotional weight of her adult crisis. This is the unforgivable part of the equation. She is sacrificing their stability, their home, and their sense of security on the altar of her own self-discovery. This is the collateral damage she has accepted, and it is the clearest sign that the woman you knew is gone, which leads to the brutal truth you must accept. You cannot stop it, you cannot reason with it, you cannot fix it, and you cannot love her out of it. Your attempts to reconnect, to remind her of the life you built, will fail. In fact, they will only accelerate her departure because your stability is the very thing her new biology is rejecting. The man standing there believes he is in a negotiation to save his marriage. He is wrong. He is an obstacle. The woman you knew, the partner you had, is gone. She has been replaced by a stranger driven by a psychological, biological, and cultural force that is bigger than your history. You are not witnessing a rough patch. You are witnessing an unrecoverable event. She is not confused. She is gone. And it's the sheer totality of this destruction that we must understand, which is why this isn't just a crisis, but a demolition. We are culturally conditioned to think of the midlife crisis as a male cliché. It's the red sports car, the affair with a younger woman, the pathetic, superficial attempt to recapture lost youth. But the male crisis in this form is typically about addition. He foolishly adds a new layer, a new toy, onto his existing life. Critically, he almost always wants his foundational structure, his home, his wife, his family, to remain as a safety net. He wants the thrill, but not the collapse. The female crisis we are mapping here is not addition, it is demolition. In simpler terms, he buys a new toy. She calls in the wrecking ball. She is not trying to add something to her life. She is trying to obliterate the one she has. She doesn't just want a new lover. She wants a new identity, a new past, and a new future. And she understands that this requires a total teardown. This is not a temporary lapse. It is a permanent, existential act of destruction. And this is the crucial difference. This demolition is irreversible. When the man in the cliché crisis is caught, or the thrill wears off, his primary emotion is often regret. He wants to come home. He was seeking a thrill, not a new identity. The woman in this demolition phase cannot come home because her entire psychological survival now depends on the fantasy. To return would be to admit the devastating truth that she was not a heroine on a journey, but the arsonist, that she destroyed her family, her history, and her children's stability for a fleeting chemical rush and a hollow cultural fantasy. This admission is psychologically impossible. Her new identity is built entirely on the lie that her escape was necessary and justified. Therefore, the demolition must be total. She cannot go back because the person who left is gone. And accepting this absolute finality is the only thing that will save you, which leads directly to the hard reality of your survival manual. So what is the survival manual for you? The first rule is the most difficult. You must stop. Stop trying to reason with her. Stop trying to win her back. Stop going to couples therapy sessions that she is only using as a forum to build her case for the prosecution. You must fundamentally accept that you are not the cause of this crisis. Your stability, your reliability, your love, these were not failures. They were simply the wrong ingredients for the chemical high she is now chasing. You are not in a partnership anymore. You are in a damage control situation with someone who is no longer your ally. Your first move is to accept the diagnosis. It is over. Your loyalty is no longer to the marriage, but to the reality on the ground. Your second move is to pivot immediately from emotion to action. You must transition from confused husband to clear-eyed survivor. This is not a time for sentiment. It is a time for cold, calculating self-preservation. Your primary duty is no longer to the marriage, which is already a casualty. It is to your children and to your own future. In practice, this means you seek legal counsel. Immediately. You get a complete forensic understanding of your finances. You document everything. You must stop thinking about saving her and start thinking about saving yourself and your children from the collateral damage of her demolition. This is not betrayal. It is the only logical response to an unavoidable structural collapse, which leads us to the final warning. Inevitably, there will be those who say, Not all women are like this. And they are correct, just as not every building in an earthquake zone collapses. But we are not here to discuss the exceptions. We are here to diagnose the pattern. We are here to map the mechanism of the collapse itself. And in the current cultural climate, fueled by biological imperative and psychological panic, this pattern is becoming an epidemic. The forces we have mapped, the psychological terror of invisibility, the biochemical betrayal demanding chaos, and the cultural narrative that weaponizes self-discovery, are a perfect storm. They are a tripartite engine of destruction. The individual woman is often just a passenger in a system that is driving her and her family off a cliff. The most dangerous thing you can do is to believe this can't happen to you. The final warning is this: do not wait for the obvious signs. The campaign of war, the anger, the new body, the secret phone, is the end of the process. The beginning is much quieter. The true warning signs are the deep signals of her existential panic. It's the sudden, profound nostalgia for her youth. It's the moments of quiet terror you see when she talks about time running out. It's the deep, uncharacteristic restlessness that signals the internal pressure is building. These are the tremors before the quake. By the time you see the visible cracks in the foundation, the structural integrity is already gone. You are not observing a crisis you can fix. You are witnessing the blueprint for annihilation, and your only move is to prepare for the inevitable collapse.